Olá, meus amores! Antes de tudo, gratidão por você estar presente para mais um conteúdo. Eu estou passando aqui rapidinho para lembrar de curtir agora esse vídeo, se inscrever no canal, ativar o sininho para não perder nenhum vídeo incrível que trazemos aqui para você. Combinado? Agora, apertem os cintos, entre na nave estelar e bora pra aventura!
A very long time ago, the Anunnaki used to own and rule over the galaxy Nataru. Their empire, the Ashtari Empire, was called the Old Empire. They were custodians of Nataru, a sort of royalty. They were royalty. And with time, their empire withered. The old emperor, High King Anu, was getting tired and tired. And eventually, diplomatic arrangement made concessions to other empires and cultures. So at that moment when we are talking, Anu's empire is only a third of this galaxy. It has always been centered in the Sirius system, Sirius B, and when the Orion Wars started, they shifted to parallel dimension. Anu is not a warrior chief, he's a very old being who has his personality and character, and he doesn't want trouble. When this star system was liberated by the Earth Alliance and the Galactic Federation of Worlds, the Seeders came back. The cultures from 24 cultures from the Intergalactic Confederation to witness the liberation of humanity and to take the hand. Also arrived Ea, also known as Prince Enki, who is not anymore Enki because Enki means custodian of Earth. Ea arrived in a Nibiru ship with all his faction, his people, and is actually parked near Saturn. Why he came back? Among other reasons, he also came back to pass on the custody of Saturn to the Earth Alliance, because Saturn was an Anunnaki concession from the start. That is why we could never approach Saturn. Nobody could pass the outer ring of Saturn. It was for this reason. And now that Enlil has been removed from the star system, now that the negative Anunnaki have been cast out, that Earth is liberated from the regressive extraterrestrials, there is no need that the Anunnaki keep the kingdom of Anu keep Saturn. Now this star system belongs to the prominent, more evolved civilization, which is Earth, the Terrans, the Earth Alliance. So the Earth Alliance have been given the keys of Saturn. And I have tonight a fantastic guest, an emissary, representative of Earth, who was there during the agreements that have been passed on the moon Mimas, Saturn moon Mimas. Agreement passed between Ea and his people and the Earth Alliance, as witness all the cultures of the Intergalactic Confederation were there, and they were a lot of wonderful, diverse beings. You are going to discover how this meeting was wonderful. I want to introduce you to the Earth representative for the United Nations of Space. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris O'Connor. I would like to welcome tonight a man who has been involved in this agreement of passing on the custody of Saturn to the Earth Alliance. Chris O'Connor. Chris, welcome.
Hi, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, Elena. Hi, everybody.
Chris, we know you by first the fantastic DIMS device that you brought back from your time in the secret space programs. And also we know you because you have had an incredible, fantastic journey through the space programs, because you hold a diplomatic position. Could you please first tell us about this diplomatic position and how long this is being effective, please?
Well, I have been a part of, in my memory, it's the United Nations, though they're apart and separate and apart from the United Nations on Earth, though they still represent Earth and all the nations of Earth. They just do it galactically and intergalactically. So I started doing that in my service to what a lot of people call the secret space program, but really it's the Space Force that currently exists. And that Space Force has a number of factions as well. And, you know, it works with other of the US military. So that's where I came in, was working with the US military originally. And that was in 1970, you know, and I was age advanced, and then began working for them and for the next 20 or so years until the 90s, around 1990. And then I stopped working for the United States in particular and started working for the whole planet to represent all of Earth, all the nations through the United Nations, you know, off-planet United Nations faction. And to do that, I went to Mimas, which is the first of all of Saturn's moons. It's one of the smallest, but it's also the first one just outside of the rings of Saturn. And that's actually a space station. It's a modified natural body that turned into a station that resides primarily in the 8th density. So we would go there and we would meet with many other nations and many other organizations and many other worlds, many other races. And we would work with all of these different, like I say, races and other planets and even from other galaxies. And in that process, I did that for 40 years. Then I was returned. So I spent 60 years doing the Space Force work, and Space Force / United Nations work, making it simple. Then I was returned in 1970 to a 2-year-old. So then I've lived this life out. But it turns out that I'm retrieving a lot more memory through this process, and that I'm actually still leaving the planet, you know, and just my memories are suppressed from that. But, you know, because recently I have just woke up. Before I opened my eyes, I could hear this buzzing electrical sound in the room. And I opened my eyes and there's 3 beams of light, 3 beings, maybe 4, but I think at least 3 that were like transporting out of my room. And then there I was standing in the middle. And it was just for a split second. And I'm like, oh man, they let me remember that, but they don't let me remember what I did when I was gone. You know, it was so frustrating.
So it's yourself. It's not a clone. It's yourself in that you were age regressed. You are here now, but you're still yourself in not the future, the present.
Another timeline.
Which is this timeline. In fact, it's the present. In fact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but
you're still there, but then when you will finish your time there, you will be age regressed to when you were age regressed back on Earth. Is it right? Yes. So it's still you, your double, you, yourself, your future present self. Everybody follow.
It's very confusing.
Very confusing, but so it's you. And you are stationed on Mimas. It happens that on Mimas, recently in December 2022, very, very, very important agreements were passed between Enki and the Earth Alliance. Enki gave back the custody of Saturn into the hands of the Earth Alliance. I knew that, and when we spoke together briefly during a video with Danny Henderson, actually, about Saturn, it hit us both that you, as an Earth representative, were part of these agreements. So what do you remember of this, please?
Well, that's really very fascinating. I can describe my memories of the moment that I was with 4, maybe 5, but definitely 4 other individuals. They were security detail. They were wearing like a gray outfit, but more it's sort of like this gray shirt, like this color, this light gray. And it was a collared shirt, but it was more of a Nehru. It didn't have the fold down. It was straight up. And they had like black belts on. I think it was probably for gravity or density, or it was like a thick rubber kind of thing looking. And then they had on boots, and these boots were different. They were like combat boots, but they form fit to their foot. It was weird. I don't know. I didn't get a good look at them, or my memories aren't good on them. And so we were standing kind of facing one another in a small group, and we were talking about how sad it is that everybody on Earth doesn't know what's happening, that nobody on Earth knows the truth of what's out here, and how sad it is that we're not allowed to come back and tell our family and friends what we've experienced. And we were just talking along in that line. And I spoke up, because I was always speaking up, and I said, well, I'm going to remember. And one of those other 3 or 4 people spoke up next to me, and he said, no, you're not. And I'm like, yes, I will remember. And then just at that moment, there was a doorway to my right-hand side, and other side of that doorway was a large auditorium where 2,000-3,000 individuals could sit, for a presentation. And I turn because I hear somebody say something in my ears telepathically. And there's these 3 blue beings with straight white hair. And 2 of them were like clones. The 2 males looked very, very, very similar. And then the female also looked quite similar, but not like a female version of the males. They looked super close. I don't know if it was just a coincidental or if they're actually clones, but that's what I saw. And I turned my head, and he was within arm reach, all 3 of them, and they're walking toward me. And he says, when I said out loud, I will remember my experience. And then that's when he got my attention. He looked straight in my eyes, and he said, and I know you will. And then I learned later that what a lot of that was they have the ability telepathically to kind of put little switches in your memory and help you to remember, because they want everybody on Earth to know.
Yes,
it's
a
lot of these beings.
Yes, it's time. It's time now we remember. And so you said that these beings had long white hair, and I know people from the Intergalactic Confederation have long white hair, the Altians, and they probably were part of these agreements. When I told in this video with Danny about Saturn that I was once on the Nibiru ship, and I saw Anunnaki uniforms, and they were black and green with golden belts. And you remember these uniforms as well, you said. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I remember the especially the gold. I mean, how could you not remember? It was just beautiful, shiny gold, and the green. It seems to me that they came around, it was like it was green in the center, maybe in black, that came kind of down like this, if I recall. And then the gold, there's also like a gold patch or something, like kind of where this thing is, somewhere around here. And that's all I remember about it. But I do remember the look of that uniform.
Yeah. Were you wearing it, or were you?
I don't know that I was wearing that. No.
Yeah, because that was the you probably were wearing something else. That was the Anunnaki uniform, and it's incredible. When I heard that the agreements were on Mimas, I went, that's it. So first-hand witness.
I mean, I remember part of that was that I was there to speak. We had a lot of stake in the game, right? Earth, it was important that we were there. It was important that we were, there to also make amends for some things that some of our human factions have been doing. And so I went into that space, into that large room, and I actually spoke. I don't remember necessarily exactly what it was I was saying, but it was based on, we here on Earth apologize for our part in this scenario kind of thing. That's really kind of what it was. That's the feeling I get from it. And then when I came back outside, I had to punch in a program or punch in a series of, I would say numbers, but they're really symbols, into this computer panel near that doorway. And there's something about me doing that ended a program. And that I remember, but I don't remember what that program was.
Yeah. And when you played your part in this agreement, this session, diplomatic session, very important. Who was there in the room? Do you remember different beings? Do you think you saw Ia and Ki? Was he there? Were there other beings, other races?
Well, there were quite a few other races. I mean, there was probably 1,500 people in the room. It was a lot. It was full. There were a lot of people looked human. They may have been, I don't know. A lot of them looked human that were blue, or looked human that were much taller, looked, very humanoid in that respect. There was two beings, and from my perspective, the back left, they had to stand over there because they were like 20 feet tall. Mm-hmm. And that was the only space for them. That was, no, there was a balcony, and there was orchestra pit, sort of, like the whole bottom of a, like an opera house sort of thing. And then there was a large mezzanine, and then the mezzanine stopped for enough space for these very tall beings to be able to stand there. And then there was, when I came into the space, there was this being that looked mostly human. It was like a very large, rotund human. And if you know how like a crab can pull its claws in, and it kind of like, and it kind of all blends together. Yeah. So it's like it fits within itself. Yeah. Well, this being, he was sort of this pinkish color. If he were to do that, like put his arms down to his side and put his knees together, he would be round or like egg shaped.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But he was speaking when I first came in. I don't know if it was an introduction or what it was, and then I came up after him. And then there were some of the same beings that I've talked about before that looked like the rhesus monkey, the very, very loving beings. There were some of the beings that looked like the elephant seal with a cobra type head shape. I've learned since then that they're actually ship builders. They build some of the ships. They're consciousness ships. So I don't know the name of them, because I'm not great with names, bringing names up. I'm all visual.
Many of them have frequencies and not really names. I have difficulty with names as well, so please continue.
Yeah, again, a lot of them, I remember them just making names for us, for human, because a lot of them don't think we should even quite be there yet. We're not quite at that level. We kind of got in early, and so they're very patient with us. And so they'll make a name for us to refer to them as, so that our brains can, process.
That's it. Oh my God, the Altians and the Intergalactic Confederation, they give us name because their names are frequency. We cannot translate them. So Una, for instance, my friend Una, who is an Altian, Una means the one who comes forward. That means emissary. There's another one. He gave the name Tayel, which means ambassador or representative, but they cannot give their real. It's impossible. It has no vocal sound. It's frequencies. So many of them, and especially the beings from the Intergalactic Confederation, because they are even way more advanced than the beings of Nataru, this galaxy.
Yeah, it's just, I remember very, very vividly communicating with a lot of these different races and beings that there was nothing verbal. They may try to do something verbal, but it's not really, it's nonsensical to us, not really understanding. They're just words. Or sort of like if we were hearing, your cat talk to you, or hearing a dolphin, it's just like, they're just sounds. So what they do is they accompanied it with a visual or a color or an emotion or something to guide you to where it is, they want you to go as far as information exchange.
Yes, that's totally how they communicate in the Intergalactic Confederation, the Seeders. Wow, that's very impressive. Anything else you remember from this moment?
Well, we went and had a drink after that, down because we were on a high mezzanine. We left that space and we went down around a corner, and there was this huge tree, and it was like a shopping mall. It was all white and shiny and glass and chrome kind of look. But then there was a large space. I could look down as if like you're in a mall and you look down 3 or 4 floors and you see a large area. I like to say what looked like white marble sort of. And then there would be maybe a couple of shops, but it was like a bar or a restaurant or something down there. I know that's where we were headed. But then I also remember people being up. They were like, my being there was kind of drawing attention in that moment, because I was there to speak and whatever. And so there were people on higher mezzanines over this, what we call like a courtyard within this space. And then on the left-hand side I don't think they were actually windows to space. I think they were projections so that you could see what would be there if you were looking out of a window. And I could see the edge of this ring of Saturn. I couldn't see the whole planet, but I could see the edge of it. And so as we went down along and went down to have a drink or do whatever we went down there to do, I don't remember that. I just remember the space. There was a gorgeous big tree down there as well.
Wow.
In the middle of the space. Yeah.
Wow, shivers. The people from Earth they were there, I suppose, because the Earth Alliance was present. That was the main thing. Do you remember uniforms of the Earth military or representative of the Earth Alliance type of uniforms that you could identify?
Well, there were what I'm pretty sure was, the Navy and the Air Force, their uniforms, as I recall, looked almost identical. I think the only difference would be a patch for where you are. Because I remember with, I think the group while we were up there, those 4 in the gray suits that were there, and I believe they were, basically my security taking me. But I remember they had a patch that was sort of like the top of the earth, like sort of like the United Nations seal they have here, except for this one had a sickle and a sword, and then like laurel leaves underneath everything, and it was white with blue.
Interesting.
And it was and I never liked that patch. I always thought it was kind of a negative thing with the sickle and the sword kind of indicated to me, warrior, or,
Interesting.
so I never liked that patch. I think that's why I remember it.
Wow. So that's very, very interesting that you were there in person. You were there in person. I've attended a few different meetings as an emissary myself as well for the Galactic Federation. And there were a lot of beings who were there as holograms with holographic projections, because in the Galactic Alliance, the Federation, the Council of Five, and the Andromedans, they rather do meetings by holographic projections. Then it's safer, and there's no place to attack. Everyone is scattered. Where you attended the meeting, the extraordinary meeting on Mimas, was there a lot of people in person, or were there beings that were there as holograms? Can you remember?
I remember most of them were actually physically there.
Wow.
And that's what was so amazing to me. And I know that there were some that were holographic, but they were, in my memory, difficult to distinguish, because they were very good at what they do, and they don't usually walk around. Like they wouldn't walk out of the conference room. They wouldn't be neat. They would just switch off their machines and they would just disappear out of their chair. So I don't have a lot of memory of that, simply because when I came in, I was focused on the crowd as a whole and didn't really look individually too much. I did recognize, people, but it was outside of that space where I remember, and I remember some very tall beings that were very tall, like a light blue and gray, and very graceful. And some that were like made of light, but they kind of come form to a shape so you can relate to them, but they're still like shimmery, and they're kind of a form, but then they kind of like dissipate, out around the edges. And it's just, I wish people could see these beings.
Yeah, so that is the some beings from the Intergalactic Confederation. It all makes sense that the Intergalactic Confederation was there at this meeting, because they are overseeing and really above in hierarchy, above the Galactic Federation of Worlds. They are, the seeders. They are really here to take in hands the political events, diplomatic events in the star system. There are beautiful beings, I know, floating with light, incredible.
That was just so phenomenal to me. It's just the variety of beings, and it was really surprising how many of them you would have a difficult time distinguishing between a human on Earth. As well, maybe they have like larger eyes, or gold eyes they were shiny, or, something along that line, or green skin, but they look totally normal, or, because, all the other shapes and sizes of beings, kind of tended to blend together in large groups. You just kind of focus on the ones that were close to you. And in fact, I remember, Jean-Charles Moyen, he came to me with the memory that he and Melanie had of me. I think it was on Mimas. I don't know for sure, because I was in stasis a lot because of the nature of my work. It was better for me to be in a space that was unable to be psychically interfered with. So if I was conscious and awake, walking around, a lot of these beings are really, really good telepaths. And they could just get in your mind, there's no hiding anything. So because of the nature of what I did, I often was put in stasis, in like a Faraday type of room so that nobody could penetrate it telepathically.
Oh, and you project yourself.
I had.
That's it.
But yeah. So which explains a couple other things. I'm glad you said that, because what I don't tell people, but I think maybe because this time I might have been projected, because I remember not being solid.
That's it. You were there, as I do that every time when I attend meetings with them. I project myself as a hologram. Well, I use technology, you know. You step on or you are in stasis, but usually I step on a circular pad, and I stay there, and it projects me there, and I see. So when I am projected, it's like I am there, but I'm not solid. I'm transparent. I'm a hologram, and I see I'm in the room there. It's like if I'm in the room. I mean, my consciousness is projected with the hologram into the meeting room, which is extremely interesting. Yes. So it's probably why
is that explains why it is I always kind of wondered why I would do this, but when I entered that room to do that speech into that large area, I floated over the crowd.
No, that's it.
And dropped into the podium, and I'm like, I don't have that ability.
Yes.
You know, why would I do that? But now, and I didn't realize that. I was projected at times. That makes sense, because I remember looking down at myself, and it just kind of like the bottoms of my hands fading out a little bit. And I just thought maybe it was just a memory glitch thing. But that makes more sense.
You're not crazy. It's I do that.
Sure.
When I project myself as a hologram with this technology, yes, the consciousness is projected as well. So you are there. It's like if you are there present, but you're not. And of course, nobody can read your mind because they meet the hologram. So they cannot, connect back. That's
that makes
why.
Sense.
So you were in stasis. It's a different technology. With the Federation, we step on circular pads, or we sit in chairs. You have holographic projection chairs as well. They use a lot of these chairs to pilot ships or travel, things like that. So that makes sense.
That does make sense, because I was going to say that Jean-Charles Moyen and his wife Melanie told me a memory they had of standing over a stasis pod with me in it.
Mm-hmm.
They remembered that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. At least somebody remembers I was there in a stasis pod. So those little bits and pieces coming together are really, really helpful.
And the stasis pod can be in another galaxy. It doesn't matter. It's a holographic, it's quantum technology. So you project yourself, wherever. So that's
no
very
distance
interesting.
or time.
Yes, no distance or time, exactly. We spoke about the uniforms of the Anunnaki, green, black, and gold. Did you interact with them, or did you have a part to do interacting with them or not?
I remember interacting with them, but I don't remember what I did. I just remember being in their presence. And I don't remember them being Anunnaki. I remember those green and black uniforms, and that they were in fact much taller, I felt, than I was. And they were kind of a blue-gray light color, more blue really, and their skin was sort of some of the blue beings, their skin looked like an amphibian that's sort of translucent and it kind of shimmery. They weren't quite that, but definitely shimmery, but not quite as translucent as some of the others.
Okay, that's very interesting that you say that, because many of them have a shimmery skin, like a bit of glitter. It's like, you see it when it moves with the light, it's like silver or gold sparkles. It's sparkly. It's because they take a monoatomic gold a lot. Monoatomic gold with the Anunnaki physiognomy, it prolongates their lifespan. So at the moment they take a lot for a very long time, their skin starts to glow.
Wow.
So that's the impression you had. So these ones were not young Anunnaki, they were all ancient ones who came with Enki. And so that's very interesting. If the skin glows, that means they are ancient ones. They came back from a long time.
Yeah, they're beautiful to look at,
Yes, they are very, very beautiful, very beautiful. So you would have seen Enki, well, Ia, you would have remembered it because he always wears really beautiful, beautiful gowns, beautiful colors, beautiful, amazing robes.
Well,
So,
there was one being that looked like what I'm assuming are going to be the Anunnaki from my memories, but in fact, I was at one point in time wearing something similar, and so there's some confusion with my memory, but I'll share this, that this one very tall being that we're expressing as far as description, tall with the shimmery skin and all, but he had like on a robe thing, and the robe came down to almost to his wrist, but it draped down, and it was like a silver and not pleated, but it was kind of wavy, and it was like light more than a gown. It was physical, but then it wasn't physical at the same time. It was really shimmery and iridescent, like a light silver color with all the rainbow colors shimmering within it. And it was just like very light. And I remember wearing a memory of wearing something similar to that. It was like you weren't wearing anything at all. It was just like light. It was beautiful. So I don't know if they wore anything like that, but
yes, he has amazing, amazing outfits. It's like the fabrics you couldn't make it. It's absolutely, maybe you saw him.
maybe. I don't remember the face or anything like that, but I do
Yeah.
remember this outfit that's just shimmery and flowy and almost made of light.
Yes, that I think you saw him because he has always, you really notice him when he's in a room. He's very royal, has such a presence, and all this. He loves flowing robes and large. It's embroidered or shimmery with a lot of details. That's So something I remember when I used, before all these events happened, before the Cedars came back, before Enki came back, I used to pass by Saturn with Thorhan in his ship. Sometimes we were going for a drive or flight, a tour in the star system. And always we would avoid the vicinity of Saturn. And Thorhan was never allowed to tell me why. I said, why can we not approach Saturn? He said that the limit of the outer rings, we cannot pass them because we do not have the authorization to go. It's not our territory. It's not territory of the Alliance. I said, whose territory is it then? That's weird. He said, no, we cannot tell you. And I say, that is weird because with all the military power in this star system and the Andromedans and the Galactic Federation of Worlds and blah, 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 you're telling me that you cannot approach Saturn, that it belongs to someone else? Who are they? And at that time, I didn't know it was the Anunnaki because I needed not yet to know. This knowledge was dangerous to tell yet. And then when Ia came back and he explained to me that Saturn was an Anunnaki concession, etc., it made sense. What are your memories when you are of your time on Mimas, where you still are, about not approaching Saturn? Do you have memories like this?
I think my memories mostly just exist around the fact that we weren't allowed to go any further really than an X number of kilometers from the station toward Saturn. I don't remember knowing why. I just remember we weren't allowed to. And in fact, it's funny, but there are certain parts of Mimas, it's tidally locked, so it's always like our moon, always facing the same direction to Saturn. So a lot of the what you would, I guess, call public areas or projections that would look towards Saturn would be at angles, because there was a point in time I remembered that we weren't really allowed to have this full-on view of Saturn. And I just remember wondering why that was. And I guess now I'm hearing what you have to say about the fact that it was, basically private property. They just didn't want cameras, whatever, aiming directly toward them, probably.
Yes. Exactly. So I'm very happy that you really corroborate my memories, my material. Anyway, well, that's fantastic that you can testify in real time that what happened on Mimas, these agreements between Ea and the Earth Alliance, passing the custody of Saturn to the Earth Alliance. So now it has been done around December, and now you have still a connection with yourself, which is still there. Any other insight or visions that you can grab of the aftermath, the after of these meetings?
Well, I do know that there were a number of beings that left Mimas after that. It was sort of like a bug out almost. It wasn't a bad negative thing. It was just like, well, there's no reason for me to be here anymore. I don't know who those beings were. I just remember that was like, a whole section of Mimas, because Mimas is sectioned off for atmosphere for different beings, different species. In fact, science, basically says it's an impossible moon that shouldn't exist. It's easy to find on the internet. It's just, Mimas, the impossible moon, because it has a wobble and it has movement and it has these, if they do thermal imaging of it, it has these weird shapes, kind of looks like Pac-Man, it's like this weirdness. And what they don't realize all that is occupation. Some of the heat patterns of Mimas basically are warmer sections and colder sections, for different atmospheres, for different beings. And then also the wobble is caused by that because there are some water beings that are on Mimas. And so they have like a small ocean under there that they can be in. And then also there's this, and these, it's interesting, they just popped in again in my memory. I remembered these beings that I've recently remembered, these beings that, and I've kind of rejected it because it looks like that Pirates of the Caribbean, the captain that turned into a squid with all the tentacles. And I keep seeing these, remembering and coming into my mind these beings with tentacles.
Yes.
And they were part of a water part of Mimas. They had a section there, and so I keep remembering these beings and they just popped into my memory again. So I had to share it because they're just so interesting.
It's the Cold Sea. It's the Cold Sea. The Cold Sea. They're on Venus and on Neptune as well.
Oh, well,
oh my goodness! Yes,
they have a representation there.
Yes, they had, and they are aquatic beings. Well, they are amphibian.
Right.
And on Neptune, they have a big base, and they have cities under the water. I visited a city, and I stayed quite a while there. And I'm waiting for more information, but I actually stayed 2 months with them. And I'll bring this information as soon as I have the whole thing. They are very important. They are very, very ancient beings, and they were here before everyone else in the star system.
Oh.
And they are about our size, and they have these tentacles instead of hair. Yes. Exactly.
See, and I kept thinking it was just my imagination.
No.
I do that all the time. I'm like, that's just you're making something up, or.
And of course they were there. Of course they were there. Oh. So they're entirely telepathic. And well, when they speak, they do sounds like, like weird stuff. Yeah. They are so gentle, so wise, so nice. So you saw the Cold Sea, and they were there. That's
Wow.
very interesting because they are linked with the ancient builder races. And I will bring more information as soon as I have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating because it just, that memory came through, a couple of weeks ago, and I kept thinking, oh no, you're just making it up from Pirates of the Caribbean. And, and I'm like, that can't be true.
Yeah, no, yeah. 2 weeks ago, yes. These last few weeks, I think 3 weeks ago, I had Ardana, who is a high commander on the Excelsior. I communicate with her, and she's one of my contacts, and she said, well, the Coldasi want to meet you, and they have information to give to you. And which is wonderful is that nearly the same time you remember them. So the Coldasi are coming forward. They are now, it's time. I know it's time now they speak and they show themselves. And which is interesting is that the Coldasi are related to the Tengri from the system TRAPPIST-1. And TRAPPIST-1 is in the bullseye of the James Webb telescope at the moment because they are studying the planets with exolife there and potential life, etc. Well, yeah, there's a whole civilization there, the Tengri, and they are cousins of the Coldasi.
Oh.
So everything, is linked.
It's so weird.
Yeah, and makes sense they were there. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I was just basically just saying that some of those water beings that are on Mimas are part of the reason that it has a wobble, that it's slightly off, and why it has these weird thermal signatures, and also because there's a gravitational engine, in it, and it also throws it off. So all those things together create this wobble. So that's really what I was going to go for, but wow, the cold to see. I had no idea. It's fabulous.
Yes, and they're interdimensional beings. That means they can be here, but they come from a parallel dimension. So when they jump, they come, and they do that very easily. So I'm very impressed. When you start to describe them, I went, it's the cold to see.
Yeah, but they're different than if people remember the captain from the Pirates of the Caribbean series,
they're different.
That has all, but he's very unattractive.
Yeah, the Coldasi are cute.
Yeah, they're more like if a Japanese person, artists were going to draw that same being, they're much more, like you say, cutie. They're not ugly.
Yes. I actually made a drawing of one of them, if I can find it. I'm going to show them. Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oops.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, you can see it good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here we go. Yeah. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So you recognize them. Yeah. Wow.
Kind of mind-blowing when you get into it and things connect that way. And I think it's important that we have those common memories, so we know we can stand confident that that these are real memories, and these are things that are really happening. They have happened, and they continue to happen.
Yes. One day I will meet yourself attending one of these meetings. I wasn't on Mimas. I wasn't called to be there. I'm not in all the meetings, just certain occasions.
Nobody could be.
Nobody could be. But one day that would be interesting if I meet you, your representative ambassador self there, because we're doing the same job for different organizations. It's fantastic. That's quite exciting.
Yeah, dear, it really colleague. Is.
Dear colleague.
Yes.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. And for the people who listen to us, that must be like, wow, mind blowing. So,
Well, it is
listen,
for me too, you know.
and you know, so I need to tell that to the audience now, is that this video has been extremely edited and cut because we have been interfered so much. We used at least 5 different Zoom links. Something was never working. We were interfered, cut. It's unbelievable. And Chris and myself always had that. People, the dark forces tried to stop us communicating, because when we talk, see what's going on. It's incredible. When you wanted to send me a Teams device, I think it took more than a year and many tries to come to me.
Yeah.
You had to use ruse to try to get device to me, and it's always like this between us. Emails don't pass, etc. It's because when we connect, we corroborate all these meetings, and that's quite interesting. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll be less and less as time goes on, and more information will be out where they're just going to give up.
Totally. Is there anything else you want to add about your memories, please?
Gosh, you know, I don't know at the moment. I'm just so thrilled that we were able to spend some time together and just kind of and help link some things together in my mind, you know, for sure, you know, and be able to share that with everyone. I think it's just phenomenal. It's such a great honor. Such a great honor.
It is a great honor for all of us, and thank you so much. Hopefully we'll have other chats like this, and you can have some contact with your other self, yourself.
Yeah.
No other ways, yourself.
It gotta happen, right?
Yes, that's it. It's not your clone, it's not your double, it's yourself. Just yes, you are doubled because you came back in time, and now, you know, that's quite interesting. So thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.